Hey, Lindsay, how's it going?
Yeah, everything's awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to a summer road trip coming up very soon. When's the last time you took a road trip, Lindsay?
Oh my gosh, I've taken so many road trips in my life. I've taken 4 big road trips around the country, 4 or 5 of them.
That is amazing.
But we took a little road trip up to the mountains, last weekend, which was super nice. I don't know, how would you well, that's the question, right, Aubrey, before we start today. What
Mm,
does it take to make something a road trip versus just I drove a couple of hours to another town? Like, when does it
yeah.
become a road trip? Is it an
I
amount of
think
time, a
I think
mileage?
amount of time, I feel like.
Okay.
And everyone's going to define this a little differently, but when we'll go a couple hours north to the mountains. I wouldn't say like, okay, I'm going on a road trip to go
Yeah.
up to the mountain, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
like at least maybe 5 hours of driving, and then I'm
Okay.
going to call that a road trip. I don't know. What
Okay.
do you think?
So you
It's a
5
little
hours is the
subjective.
cutoff. I like that. I like that, yeah. I think it depends on the amount of snacks you have in the car.
Yes, right? Because a 2-hour drive, we usually don't have any snacks, but
Yeah.
5
Okay.
5 hours, you're absolutely gonna have
You
snacks.
got snacks because that is the best part about a road trip.
Yes, absolutely, I know. What about I know you went on an amazing road trip in 2016, way bigger than
Oh.
any road trip I've been on.
It was epic, and I never used the word epic, but it was epic, guys. Yeah, it was it was crazy. I just said, "Hey, I want to travel this summer. I wanna see more of the US, and I wanted to build a course for our listeners, our students. I wanted to gather material of real native speakers." So that's what I did in the summer of 2016. I took off from Boston. I rented a Chevy Malibu, from
Awesome.
Hertz, and I drove across the country, camped, and did a lot of couch surfing, actually. Drove north and then down the California coast, up through Texas and back up the East Coast and finished off in New York. It was amazing, and we turned it into a course. Aubrey, what's that
It's
course
so
called, by the
cool.
way?
Yes, right, it's our Connected Communicator course. You can find it
Mhm.
at allearsenglish.com/connection. My favorite
Yeah.
thing about that course, you interviewed so many really interesting people, and there was
Yeah.
such cool native natural vocabulary that came out of each interview. I am so happy that I had a chance to help, um,
Yes.
pull some of the interesting lessons out of these videos so that I could watch them because 'cause they're all just
Yes.
such interesting people.
It's really it's a we love it. Like, it's one of the things we're most proud of at All Ears English. We've all worked on it together, and the coolest thing about it is that I didn't prepare people, right? I didn't say, "Hey, would you come into my studio, and I'm gonna ask you these questions, and this is what you should say." Instead, I just spontaneously met people at restaurants and parks or, like, festivals, and I said, "Hey, would you like to be in my course? Like, can I film you? Can I ask you questions about your city or this concept, gun rights in America, homelessness, beer and wine?" And they said, "Sure." And so I just asked them spontaneous questions. So that's how you
That's
get
so
that real
amazing.
English. Yeah.
Yes, that's what makes it the most unique. It's not scripted, there's nothing prepped, and you can tell that, but it's amazing how much interesting high-level vocabulary still comes out
Yeah.
because natives use it all the time without having to be prompted or given a script.
Exactly. So, guys, to check out that course, go on over to allearsenglish.com/connection. We just had to talk about that, Aubrey, if we're going to talk
I
about
know.
road trips. I mean, there's just no way we
Seriously.
could.
Absolutely, and we
Yeah.
got a really interesting question from a listener that we're going to answer today about the what we call roads in the United States, and this is different in
Mm.
every country and every culture, but if you are planning to visit the United States and you want to travel and drive, it's important that you understand this vocabulary so that you're ready.
Yeah, I love it. And there's just so much American mythology and like narrative around road trips,
Oh, yeah,
On the
absolutely.
Road by Jack Kerouac. It's just so much in our history and our literature. So you really want to tune into this, especially if you're visiting the US. So Aubrey, I'm going to go ahead and read the question, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Hi there. This is Daniel, one of your podcast listeners from Taiwan. Recently, I've come across the words freeway, highway, and expressway, and I've been wondering what their differences are. Would you please do an episode on this topic? And thank you so much in advance for reading this question and putting this topic into your episode. Have a good one. By the way, ever since I knew how to use have a good one as the ending blessing from your podcast, I've used it for quite a long time. Thank you a bunch. I love
I
that.
love
That's
that
so
so much,
nice.
especially the "have a good one." That's so native and natural instead of "have a good day" even.
Oh,
We're more
so
likely to
much
say.
better. Yeah, so
Yes,
much better.
I love it.
That's great. All right, so there's some other episodes. Of course, I'm sure we've talked about road trips before in the road, Aubrey.
Yes, if
Where
you
did we
guys
do?
have missed these, we want to quickly point out a couple of episodes that you should go back and check out. 1809 was Hit the Road This Summer with All Ears English. We talked about how to start a conversation with friends about road trips. This is such a fun conversation topic. You want to have the vocabulary, the phrases to bring it up at work or with friends.
Yeah, it's just so great. It's such a summer thing too, right? Hitting the road for a road trip. We also talked about it in 1772. We showed you a bunch of American road trip games that Americans play on the road, right? Just license plate games, fun conversation starter games that you can play if you come together with some native speakers to take a trip around the US. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love road trip games. I'm always the one that's like, let's play a game on a road trip.
Sure.
I love that episode.
All right, let's break it down for our listener, Daniel, I believe it was.
hmm
What is a highway, first of all?
Yeah. So what's really fun here, I would be really curious if you guys out there, if you have a native speaking English friend from the United States, ask them and see if they
Yeah.
know. There's a good chance they might be like, let me think. What is the difference between these three?
Yeah,
Because you
I
don't
actually
think
don't
about
think
it.
I know
Like,
either, so I'm
it's
excited to learn here.
awesome. I love this. Liz, you'll learn something. Okay, so highway is a main road that is usually between towns or cities,
Okay.
but they may have cross traffic, right? There might be a traffic signal, a pedestrian crossing, a
Mm,
stop sign. They're often found in rural areas and they
yes.
usually have lower speed limits than freeways, which we'll talk about next. But this can be really tricky. I actually know someone who was in a bad car accident because
Mm.
there was a highway that ran parallel to a freeway
Oh
and they
gosh.
looked so much alike, and he sort of forgot which one he was on and ran a stop sign because they just
Oh.
look so similar that if you're
Ooh.
not really paying attention, then the stop sign might come out of the because it'll still be fairly high speeds, like 65 miles an hour, and then a
Mhm.
stop sign will just sneak up on you. And he hit a car and it
Interest
was really terrible.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry
Yeah.
to hear that. That is really scary. That is
Yeah.
really scary.
It
Wow,
can
okay.
happen. And
So
what's interesting is these are often called interstates too, which
are
is a highway that usually serves more than one state, right? It'll go
Ah,
from Arizona to California. And often when you see a road that has I before a number, like I-17 here in Arizona, that's short for interstate, Interstate 17, right? And it'll go from, though usually it goes from one state to another, but I-17 is a weird one that's only in Arizona. I don't know why it's called an interstate when it
okay.
doesn't leave Arizona.
Yeah, that probably is not a
It's
real
strange.
interstate. That's a fake interstate, I think,
Yeah, they
because
call it I-17, but like,
yeah, no,
maybe
what
once upon a time it did.
right, because when I think of interstates, I think of the big ones, like we've got I-70, which there are tons of crashes up there
Mhm.
with trucks because a lot of
Yes.
people don't know how to drive through the snow, and you go up to 11,000, 12,000 feet up there to the mountains, and but there are no stop signs in an I-70 like that. I-80 up through
Mm,
Wyoming, like there would never be a stop sign in my mind on
interesting.
an interstate. So I'm a little confused here.
Mm.
Maybe it's
Maybe
like
it depends, right? So interstates maybe are more often freeways. Let me think of a couple examples. No, not always, because I-20 in Arizona does have like stoplights, so you have
oh,
to be careful. I don't think it's a state route, but
wow, interesting.
interesting. So
Okay.
interstates are a little tricky. You have to maybe pay attention to
M
whether there are lights or not.
Maybe the key is the signage because I think that there is a special signage for,
Mm,
like, true interstates, which are just huge highways, like the I-5 in California. There never would be a stop sign at the
right.
I-5 or a
That's a
light.
freeway.
It's a
Right,
freeway,
exactly.
but it's also an
Mhm.
interstate, right? And it's a certain kind of
Interesting.
signage, I think it's blue, right, that you see I think of those as, like, national interstates. They run
Gotcha.
across the entire country, east to
I
west or north to
see.
south.
So my guess is I think an interstate can either be a highway or a freeway. So let's get
Okay,
into freeway. What's the difference
let's get
between a
into it.
freeway and a highway? And then there probably is a special sign so that you know if an interstate is a freeway or a highway,
Yeah.
because freeways are very different. What's a freeway, Lindsay?
All right. A freeway is a highway where access to the road is controlled, right? So drivers can only enter a controlled access highway by ramps.
Yeah, so that
Yes.
means there are not going to be any stoplights or stop signs. The only way anyone can get on it is an on ramp, and you get off from an off ramp. So you can go on that, and the speeds are going to be higher. And you
Mhm.
know there's never going to be a stoplight or a stop sign. You're going to be able to just drive forever until you take a ramp to exit.
Yeah, so that's more of a freeway would be what we've talked about, I-70, that kind of thing.
Those big interstates are freeways.
These are freeways, they're not highways. Yes.
Yeah,
I can get
interesting.
on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
in order to keep them apart, there's this saying that I saw online, "All freeways are highways, but not all highways are freeways."
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
right? It's
Mhm.
interesting. So
Yeah.
that's really the biggest thing to keep in mind if you're in the United States is to know even if you're traveling at a fairly high speed and you're on a road that looks, like there aren't going to be stoplights or stop signs, there's no guarantee. If it's not a freeway, there could be. So you have to pay attention. Like, is this a state route? Is it a highway? And otherwise, you could get in trouble. You could get in an accident.
That is our safety announcement, our public service
Yes, right?
announcement. Just be aware of what kind of road you're on. Okay, moving on then to expressways.
Yeah. So
S
expressways are almost only found in cities. So they're going
Ah,
to be divided highways that have multiple lanes that are part of a freeway. Usually there'll be like multiple levels. There will be like an overpass that goes
yeah.
above and another one's, and they often are called exchanges. We
Oh,
talk about the I-10 exchange in downtown Phoenix. That's an expressway where they're always like high traffic, multiple lanes in the most congested part of cities.
so they're kinda trying to filter people off the freeway into the neighborhoods in a way. That's what an expressway probably does, right? Lots of on-ramps, off-ramps, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure, right? Where downtown, where people are trying to get to specific areas for
Yeah,
work, there are going to be more off
exits.
ramps, more
Yeah,
on ramps, more exits. Yep, closer
okay.
together. And they
Right.
just know like there's going to be a lot of traffic in this area. So there's often like 6 or 8 lanes, right? Downtown LA has several expressways, downtown Phoenix, any big city, because they know that's a place where you have to get past there to get to a lot of different places.
Right, and then sometimes it would just become like, I'm thinking of the Cross Bronx Expressway in New York, right? You lived in New York, you know the Cross Bronx
Yes.
Expressway, and when you're going through New York City, you're going through the Bronx, it's like it's really I think 95 becomes the Cross Bronx Expressway or kinda
Mm,
shoots off into it if you wanna go through New York, and then you can hook back up with 95, Interstate 95, which is an interstate, a highway, and a freeway.
right. Interesting. So you can see, and it's interesting as we talk, and natives will all do this. They'll just say highway
Yeah.
to mean all of these. And
Oh,
just
yeah.
be like, oh, I'm going to take
Get
the
on the
highway.
highway.
They could
Yeah.
mean a freeway. They could mean a state route, like a highway
Yeah.
that has stop signs, stoplights. They could mean the expressway. We will often just use the word highway to be more of a general term to mean any of these.
Yeah, so when it comes to connection, the important thing to know is just you have a highway or you have like a city street. We could talk another day about, roads and,
Parkways,
other
right?
other things. But the most important thing is that general umbrella term is definitely highway. Get
Yep.
on the highway. Take the highway. Don't take the back roads, right?
Exactly, right. Okay, we're gonna do a little activity here. I think this will be fun. I'm gonna describe a road, and then Lindsay, you see if you can figure out which type it is. It'll either be a highway, a freeway, or an expressway,
I think
okay?
I might fail this.
You got this, you got this.
I'm
Okay,
nervous.
this road can be taken from Dallas, Texas to Austin, Texas. It has on and off ramps and no traffic lights.
No traffic lights. Probably would that be an interstate
It could be either, so freeway or
or
interstate, right?
interstate? Yeah,
So, yeah, I didn't
freeway.
think about interstate when I made these examples. It was like
Okay.
highway, freeway, or expressway. But yeah, the interstate's a little tricky where you're from, I wonder if they're more likely to call a freeway an interstate, if it's sort of the big one that you take across multiple states.
Probably.
Oh, and then I
The
guess I did give us a little bit of a reason to think it's not an interstate, that this road is from Dallas, Texas to Austin, Texas, which is
oh,
only like a what, 45 minute to an hour drive.
so technically right. Yeah, so that's in the same state, right. So, yeah,
Yes, right?
because I always thought interstate was between states, like, you have to cross
Mhm.
state lines, but I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
we'd probably
Yeah.
would just call this a freeway,
Yeah.
and even though that road might go from Texas to Oklahoma to Nebraska, who knows,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
therefore it's an interstate, but it
mhm.
could, be all just within Texas, and then
Yeah.
it's just a freeway.
Oh, complicated.
Interesting. All right. You read number 2,
Okay.
and we'll
All
see if
right.
I
We'll
remember
quiz
right
you.
either.
Here we go.
Yeah.
This road, Aubrey, can be taken from Flagstaff, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a 2-lane road with no on-ramps.
Awesome. So this is a highway.
Okay.
I'm like thinking of a road I've been on a lot. If you drive from Phoenix to Las Vegas, you take a highway. It's not a freeway. And it's kind of a scary highway to drive, especially at night, because a
Mm.
two-lane road means you're in one lane going this, north, and the other cars are coming toward you in the lane right next to you. And it'll be like giant trucks and other cars
Mm.
that you can't help but worry at night, late at night. Like
Ooh,
if they
yeah.
fall asleep, they're just going to hit you head on because it's not a
Yes.
divided highway. There are no lanes between you and them.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting, right? This is a conversation about American infrastructure as well, which towards the end we
Mhm.
can talk about how we could maybe open that up into a connection moment. But I'm ready for my last quiz question.
Okay.
I think I
All
got
right.
the answer for this one.
Okay, here you go. This road goes through downtown Los Angeles, California, and has 6 lanes with an HOV lane.
Okay, the tip off here for me is definitely downtown Los Angeles. I think it's an expressway. Is that right?
Absolutely, right? That would be an
Woohoo!
expressway, and it's a freeway, also called a freeway, but where it gets congested and often really wide with lots of lanes, then it's called an expressway.
I love it. Do we have time for the role play, Aubrey?
Yeah,
What should
let's
we
do a
do? Yeah,
quick
real
role
quick.
play here.
Here we go.
All right, so we're
Mhm.
discussing the route for an upcoming road trip here. I'll start us out.
Okay.
I'm glad we're starting at 6 a.m. so we can avoid traffic on the expressway.
Absolutely. And then we'll take the freeway until we hit Highway 20.
Or it might be faster if we take I-80. I think the speed limit is only 65 on Highway 20.
Oh, that works. It's only a few miles out of the way, so we'd probably arrive earlier. So
Nice. This
throwing out
reminds me of,
highway.
have you seen the SNL skit, The Californians?
Oh,
It's
I
really
think you
funny.
mentioned that before.
It's
Yeah.
like teasing how they're always talking about, well, let's take this road. No, I'll let you, if you take the 10 to the 20, because traffic is such an issue there. That's a common conversation.
Whenever I'm on the phone with a Californian, my in-laws live in California and LA, I always hear or I overhear conversations of them kind of justifying, like
Mm,
making it okay in their own mind. It's like it's not okay that I've been sitting here in a parking lot for an hour, but it is okay because I can be mindful and I can take my time to listen to
right.
podcast. It's like a self conversation. Like I can live here. I can do this. Like it's okay for
Absolutely.
me.
That's
It's
funny.
just funny. It's really funny.
So we can quickly go through this role play. I don't think it'll take long. It is interesting to note for all of these, you could just say highway and no one's going to bat an eye, right?
Yeah.
Let's avoid traffic on the highway. We'll take the highway to Highway 20 because we use that word all the time to just mean any road that's fast moving.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So expressway, we said expressway to avoid traffic, right? Highway
Mhm.
20. Have we got what else do we need to
And then
highlight
I
here,
was saying,
Aubrey?
oh, let's take I-80, and that would
I-80.
be
Mhm.
interstate that is a freeway, right? And then
Yep.
the speed limit's only 65 on Highway 20. The
Mm.
highways that are not freeways where there can be stop signs and stoplights, those are going to be slower speed
Yes.
limits.
Yeah, so I like the umbrella term takeaway today is highway. That'll get you a lot of mileage, Aubrey. Love the pun.
Yes, absolutely. And I think
Uh,
it would be a fun thing to ask your American friends about, what's the difference between a highway, a freeway, an expressway, and an interstate? And then just
and then just be
watch the
quiet.
look on their face. They're going to be like,
No, they'll get into a whole debate with each
Yeah,
other,
they
right?
probably
They will.
will, right?
Yeah.
That they'd be able to talk through it, but they wouldn't be sure for a minute, I think.
Yeah, and maybe we'll come up with in another episode a way to open up a conversation around infrastructure because I do know that this is the problem we have in this country right now. Our infrastructure is crumbling, where we're not
Mm,
fixing bridges, we're not checking things. Things are not being kept up, and it makes me
yeah,
nervous. Right? We had in the 1900s, like post World War II, there was a huge boom around Henry Ford and building cars and building a car society, not a walking society. But now, like, well, that's another episode for another day,
yeah,
Aubrey. I
that
think
would
we
be
have to come
interesting
back
to
to
get
this.
into because I think it would be interesting to talk about also, like, the need for more reliable public transportation in a lot of places, right? So, yeah, let's get into
Let's
that
come
in a
back to it
future
another day.
episode.
Yes.
Be
So
sure to
hit
hit
follow.
follow.
That's gonna be a great topic. Really applicable to connection and intellectual, interesting conversation, guys. So hit follow right
Absolutely.
now, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.